Welcome to the best podcast on earth, he said jokingly.
The highest production value. At the very least, the highest production value.
Yo, we do a really good job with our production value. And it's not because I produce it.
Hilarious.
It's the Leg Kick. I'm Michael Asiffo, joined by David. Actually,
I don't know how to say my surname.
Let me try.
It's Agbaire.
Yeah,
but it's okay. This guy, how long have we known each other? Can't pronounce my surname. That's fine.
No. I was gonna say, hey man, I can do it. Give me a second. And I was gonna say Agbaire.
Man, not bad.
And it was gonna be good, right? It's just that the joke is that you have an unpronounceable last name. So
oh my god, that is a joke.
So every time Stefano will come in here and be like, "It's David
Well, Stefano's a racist, so I mean it's pretty on brand.
Cat's out the bag.
Right? That's why he's not here today. He was like, "Man, I just can't keep being surrounded by soul." And I'm not gonna say the word he said next, but it rhymes with
man. And Stefano is currently at a incel convention. He's at a Confederate flag. Also, he made a stop at a Confederate flag rally.
Yeah, Stefano is actually a keynote speaker at the incel convention. He's proposing new methodologies of how to be an incel.
And also, let's bring out the king who's gonna beat Jake Paul into a pulp. It was a real hit last week, by the way, that segment. Jeremy, Bone Crusher Asiffo. I like that nickname, Bone Crusher. I'm gonna keep that.
We'll work on it. We'll think about it. But yeah, man, Jake Paul. Whenever you want these hands.
Jakey!
Man, you're going to have to gap behind a lot of people. Have you seen some of the names saying they want to fight?
I know a lot of people are in line.
Like, it's ridiculous. We can jump into that. I mean, it's not really news. I'm trying to pull up some names right now. Because some of the names I was reading were just hilarious.
You know which one surprised me the most? Evander Kane. Evander Kane of, like the
the hockey?
Yeah.
Why? Oh, man, yo. If you don't get these attention-seeking, money-grabbing, faux celebrities out of here, man, like, get out of here. Make your own money.
In all seriousness, though, like, Teddy Atlas is right. Like, if these people don't know how to protect themselves in a boxing ring, they should not be in there. It's dangerous.
Yeah, but like again, you know what? I saw some footage of Nate Robinson training, and we'll talk about how to do it, how to transition an athlete properly and how not to transition them properly. But I saw Nate Robinson training, and you know what? I was actually kind of shocked at how good he looked on the bag, on the pads.
No,
like
he looks easy. I take it back. I think I made the assumption that he didn't train like at all or something like that, or I don't think he trained enough. And maybe he didn't have enough sparring training.
Right? Look, you know what? I'll bring out the Corey Jackson secret, but the one thing Corey Jackson actually does for you is he'll stress test you. So what he'll do, right, is he'll bring in some people from the neighborhood into the gym, have them with cameras and stuff to get you ready for a fight, and then after you'll fight in front of a crowd if it's your first fight for the first time. So that way you get kind of the idea is you get the nerves out of there. And then after you're kind of ready for like the fight, you know? He doesn't do it all the time, but he does it when he can. And
man, I honestly thought that story was gonna end with like all the people from the neighborhood jumping you or something like that. They just kind of like jump you into the gang and then like, okay, now you can fight.
You get jumped in.
Yeah, imagine.
Oh shit.
Not a Corey though.
Hey man, I'm gonna turn into Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon and freaking just throw 1,000 spinning leg kicks. Like, don't even try me, like Corey Jackson.
Hilarious.
But
Jeremy,
yeah,
but the point is on your skull. But anyway, sorry, go on. Your point.
I want to tap.
Treat your skull like a trampoline.
Oh man, the heck.
But the point is though, it gets the nerves out of your system, and I can more and more see a world where Nate Robinson just got nervous didn't have as much experience in combat and kind of fumbled the bag a little bit.
And you know what? He is an athlete, so I don't think like he got gassed or anything like that. It wasn't long enough for him to get gassed, really. But actually, let me not talk trash, because anybody who's done even one round of anything will know that it's easy to get gassed within a round. So let me not talk trash. But what I will say, like, yeah, experience. And the other guy just looked more comfortable. I mean, even the sequence that knocked Nate out, it was just like not like a basic boxing thing, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, even some professionals, when they're trying to land that perfect punch, they abandon what their coach tells them, and then they open themselves up to get for a big knockout. Like, I saw it happen last night too, and I think it was the first fight of the main card on Garcia versus Danny. I think his name was Ramirez, Ramirez beat I forget his name, but the dude that Ramirez beat, like, his corner was even telling him, like, yo, don't open yourself up with that big, and I'm just, the point being that even some professionals abandon their training just to land that big hook. Like Nate Robinson, like you said, the sequence where he got knocked out, he was looking for that perfect time to land that like big hook, and he just kind of led with his face.
And I think it was a case of training, because proper, extensive, like an experienced fighter wouldn't try to land that hook. And that it's like the funny thing about fighting, I find, is like a risk reward thing, and the more experienced you are, the better you are gauging, like, the risk of throwing something.
Yeah. So. No, I couldn't agree more. But
wow, we just did 5 minutes on card that on a fake match, on a fake fight.
I mean, yeah, like, but you know what? It there is a point to it, because I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up later in the episode, but there's a point to why I brought it up. Speaking of which, news. Big news coming out of the world of MMA. The big one is that Yoel Romero is no longer with the UFC. And when asked as to why this was the case, Dana White just said, "Hey, man, the roster's inflated and we're making some cuts." So,
UFC's becoming Hard Knocks, man.
Is this guy serious? Okay, we don't even have to explain why that's a ridiculous argument, because I think we all know Dana White has no issue just lying straight up to the public's face. Like, let's just say it as it is. My thing is, where does Romero go from here? Does he just retire, or does he do like the legacy run in Bellator and ONE and other? I mean, I don't see him like bare knuckle boxing or anything, but there's some other places he could still make money, right?
See, I thought about it, and it's like, on one hand, this is a 44-year-old who's lost 4 straight, right?
I know, but like 3 of them were title bouts, though.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, on the other hand, 3 of them were title bouts, and you can make an argument that he won 2 of those 3 title bouts, and the one that wasn't a title bout, you can make an argument he should have won that one too. So it's like, okay, this is a guy who can still go. Oh, and by the way, he hasn't been knocked out since 2009. So it's like, you can make an argument that he can still go. This isn't Anderson Silva, where it's like, please get out.
I don't see how you can make the argument that he can't still go. I mean, he went, 5 rounds or whatever with the current champion. Like, that means you can still go. If you're not getting, I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a great performance from either of them, but, he's not getting washed and embarrassed out there. So, yeah, it's a weird one, but at the same time, he's in his 40s. Like,
yeah, really, not just 40s, 44, right? So, he's getting up there. And I think you know what it is? I think there is a part of it where genuinely Dana White took a look at Anderson Silva and said, I'm no longer going to do these legacy contracts, right? Because he used to do it all the time.
Totally disagree, bro. Like, the first card fight of last night was John Vellante versus Jake Collier. Don't talk to me about no more legacy contracts. There are definitely tons. Matt Brown has a fight coming up. Like, I know. And I love Matt Brown, so let me not do that.
Carlos Condit, right?
Pardon?
Sorry, Carlos Condit. And so
yeah, it's a great fight. I love Matt Brown, but at the same time, like, I think the legacy personally.
So what do you think, David? So, David, what do you think? You think Dana is just doing this to be spiteful for his performance?
I think something's happened behind the scenes. Maybe it's a contract negotiation thing. I think that probably makes the most sense. Or maybe Romero has decided that I don't want to fight in this division. I can make more money elsewhere. Really, other than money, I can't see why he would leave unless he really doesn't want to fight anymore, which I haven't heard him say, right?
Well, the one thing I've always said is that Dana White, as small as his heart is, he does have it. Like, it's not like he's this cold human being. This is a guy who kept Chris Lieben on the roster to pay him because he was going through drug issues. Like, he does have these weird moments.
Harry's on the roster.
Yeah. Right? He does these weird, like, show of heart moments. And I feel like after Anderson Silva, especially since it was weird, because after Anderson Silva got released by the UFC, nobody wanted to call him. Not Bellator, not ONE, not PFL, which leads to me believe that Dana talked to somebody behind the scenes to say, hey, look, listen, do me a solid, right? And I feel like
those calls happen in MMA, because if not, why wouldn't he do the same for some of the other guys? Like, why wouldn't he do the same for what's his name, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell? Which I'm bet he did.
He did do that for Chuck. In fairness, he did that for Chuck. Chuck just didn't.
Listen, I know.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like if Anderson Silva wants to fight, like, he's gonna fight. Like,
right.
we're just assuming at this point. I would hope he's waiting out for a good deal.
But the bigger point I'm trying to make, though, is that I feel like Dana's just like he's flinching a little bit by seeing some of these 40-year-olds fight, especially now in the pandemic where they fought often, like Shogun's fought twice, and he's saying, you know what?
Yeah, no, you know what?
Again, you know?
Yeah, you know what? He did come out and say specifically like that is Shogun's last fight in the UFC. So
right.
Yeah, so I think he's coming to realize. You know what? Let me agree with you. Yeah. Well, to a certain degree, I don't think the legacy contracts are done, but I do think like. You have Diego Sanchez, you have BJ Penn, like these stories, like it's bad press and it's just sad to watch, man. And I think I agree. He is a human being at the end of the day, and nobody wants to see their friend go through something like that. Right?
Yeah. Plus, like again, like when he has a friend in the UFC who does fight, he does tend to do these weird. Take care. Like, don't get me wrong. I do think he's an awful human being at times. Don't get me wrong, but there are moments where he does have a heart of gold, and I think.
I was gonna say he's not a businessman. He's a businessman. But what I was gonna say is that even if he's not friends with a fighter, like you work closely with somebody for 10 years, like you're gonna give him some respect, Like, so I don't think it's a disrespectful thing. I would only imagine it's a money thing, or maybe it was even like a mutual handshake. Is like, hey, we've had a good run. Let's just call it as it is and just call it. So, but shouts out to both. Well, not shouts out to Dana White actually, but shouts out to Romero though. I hope he makes money. I hope he goes in the. I don't know. Well, it's a tough one.
He can win the one championship middleweight division right now.
Easy.
Right now.
He could compete in Bellator. Easy.
It's
really easy.
Dude, but David, it seems like you're gonna say. It seems like you're gonna allude to it. Like, question both you guys: is he a Hall of Famer?
No, but if it was for the division, yes. All-time UFC, no.
Right.
Well, the problem is we need an MMA. This is why we really need an MMA Hall of Fame, because if this is an MMA Hall of Fame, yeah, but it's weird. It's weird. There's a lot of guys in the UFC who should be Hall of Famers who aren't going to be Hall of Famers for one reason or another. Like.
Hall of Fames are really a branding exercise, right? Like, it's really only North American sports that have Hall of Fames, if you think about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And
but like
those are largely controlled by like single brands. Ooh.
My whole thing is I have a hard time believing that Jose Aldo will be in the Hall of Fame given him and Dana's relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that would be a shame. If Jose Aldo is not in the Hall of Fame, just rip it up. Right. And also don't start doing like funny things, like the Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida fight. Like Diego Sanchez is a Hall of Famer outright. Like don't just put him in a fight. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I thought that was weird.
Right? Like there's gonna be a lot of guys. for example, Frank Shamrock will never see the Hall of Fame in his life, and he should get that. But these are going to be the things that this is why MMA Hall of Fames, even though Hall of Fames are a branding exercise, why you need like an independent body to do them, because then you start running into some issues.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No. Yeah. The idea of an independent body giving out Hall of Fame makes me nauseous. But yeah, because that opens it up to way more like corruption. And
yeah.
But anyway, please go on. We don't have to. We're talking about nothing. We actually have some news to get to.
All right, the next piece of news, quick hitter: Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kennedy, March 6th. Really, out of nowhere news, but man, that's awesome.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. Hope Dominic Cruz looks good. Did I see also Benavidez versus Askar Askarov? Or
yes, you did. Man,
that's gonna be a really tough matchup for Joseph Benavidez, man. Like, props to him. He might not have been successful in his past couple of fights, but he's definitely not picking easy fights. Even if this is like, what's it called, swan song or whatever. That's a tough fight.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Askar Askarov is he doesn't have that knockout power that Figueiredo does, so...
Yeah, but he's gonna grind you though. Like,
yeah, but like he just drives and grind out matches. Like Henry Cejudo used to be a grinder, and but pause. But Henry Cejudo used to be a grinder, and he got Henry Cejudo. He got the W from Henry Cejudo when that was his style. So he does do well against grind out matchups.
I mean, when was the Henry Cejudo fight?
Oh, a long ass time ago, but that's not the point.
Yeah. But no, you're right. There's also one thing I really wanted to talk about was the Nico Price suspension. Kidding me? USADA, are you kidding me? And at first, there's two things. I have two opinions on this, because I can't believe we're still testing for marijuana. Shouts out to the NBA, who actually this week, literally a day after this news came out, released that they will not be testing for marijuana in players this season without like a probable cause. So shouts out to them. But Nico Price gets suspended for marijuana, and his Cerrone fight is ruled a no contest. And it's just like, as I said, I have two opinions. Number one, how are you still testing for this, and how is this still a main priority, considering that marijuana is legal for both therapeutic, medicinal, and recreational use in many states in the U.S. But also, knowing that fact, how high must Nico Price have been during the fight?
That's what to say, because on the surface, this looks bad on USADA. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Come on. But when you actually think about the rule is you cannot be high the day of the fight. You can literally be high at any other time but the day of the fight. Right? Man,
but
so that means Nico Price was borderline not fit to compete out there. And
I'm not gonna go that far.
Hold on. Let me get the conch. Right? Because the one thing about the NBA, the reason why NBA did recreational drug testing was because guys were doing cocaine before they got out into the court. Guys were doing marijuana before they got out into the court. Guys were doing drugs on the bench before being subbed in on the court. And what they were saying, and the whole point is, we don't want guys getting high before they get out there. Now, look, anyone who's talked to a jiu-jitsu practitioner, they'll tell you, I get high before every grappling competition.
Yeah, right? Not that we endorse drug use, but first of all, NBA players are still smoking weed before they play. J.R. Smith, Dion Waiters, you can't tell me that James Harden, you can't tell me that mans are not smoking up before they play. Like, they definitely are. And
they're functioning out.
No, but the thing is, like, the fact that they're still balling out shows that, like, it actually doesn't affect performance in the ways
that some guys, it actually makes them perform better for some reason.
For real. Like, I mean, it's all like a subjective thing. But my thing, though, is, I'm a little Stephen A. Smith on this. Is that if you have a rule, you follow the rule, especially when there's money attached.
Yeah.
However, I do think it's a bogus rule. The thing is just like, man, yeah, it's crazy to get hit. Because how many fighters do it? Nate Diaz in his last fight, like before the Masvidal fight, was literally smoking on stage before he fought. Like, you can't tell me there aren't trace amounts from the day before. Like, what's the difference? What's the threshold? Like, it's just in a way, like, yeah, I get it. Like, he must have been high on the day, blah blah blah. But how are you even testing for that? Like, are you just like?
I guess USADA concluded that he was so high there was no reasonable, like, the levels are so high that there was no way to say that he wasn't high during the fight. And that's a no. I'm sorry, it's a no. Like,
no, I'm not rolling with that. I'm not rolling with that because different people perform well under different conditions. But I just think, yeah, no, it's an interesting case because at first I was like, oh, this is an injustice, but I don't know.
You know, that's like, me too. I was like, what the hell is this? You know, I was pissed. And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? Like, yeah.
There was another USADA thing that I saw. Yair Rodriguez.
Okay, this one's even worse. Because, again, on the surface, getting suspended because you're going to Cabo one day and you forget to tell people, hey, I'm going to Cabo, by the way. Or I'm just making it up. I don't know.
No, that's a fair, yeah.
Well, my point is that, like, you know.
Wait, hold on. Yair is from Mexico. I'm pretty sure he's not going to Cabo.
Good point. I should use the bear. I'm going to Fiji one day.
Yeah, or something. I'm going to Alberta.
Yeah, I'm going to Alberta. Cabo. It's like, yeah, that's the worst possible example for this guy. But the point is that, you know, saying, hey, I'm gonna, like, always telling USADA, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here. One of the things about fighters, I'll tell you across the board, one of the things fighters suck at is paperwork. Unless money is involved in said paperwork, they will not sign it. Getting guys to sign paperwork, as a guy who's close to some of these promoters in Ontario for Muay Thai and boxing and you know, pancration, which is basically legalized MMA here, but it's like bastardized. Fighters do not sign paperwork. They do not bring in the blood work on time. They suck at all of these things. So I felt like this was more of a compliance thing. And if that's the case, I'm okay with it. But it's also one of those things on the surface, I was like, come on, man, you know?
Yeah, I think there's in my opinion, two separate arguments here. On the one hand, you have the Stephen A. thing, is you have a set of rules. In order to get paid, you must abide by these rules. You've now infringed these rules, therefore you will be suspended. Like, that's a really clear.
Stay off the weed.
Yeah, it's like it's a really clear, like, as much as, you know, it's a meme and it's ridiculous, like, it's a fair argument. On the other hand, I mean, I get it. I know why they do random drug tests, but a lot of fighters have claimed that it's inhumane the way that you have to report on your whereabouts pretty much at the beck and call of this random organization who doesn't pay a lick of your wage, and all they do is try to get you jammed up. Like, I can get why, like, you know, fighters are frustrated and think it's like an overreach of power. However, like, the rules are the rules, right?
The reason why they do it is because there are people who will distinctly avoid USADA.
Yeah, but is that? But once again, have there been, like, conclusive evidence? Wow, jeez. I have a funny story for you after this pod, which will explain why I'm talking the way I'm talking. But has there been, like, conclusive evidence that the majority or, like, a significant amount of fighters would contravene the rules if this wasn't there? You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I'll let you in on a story. I don't know how to tell this without giving it away or subtweeting somebody who would know. But I'll say this. I may have heard through the grapevine in another country that amateur fighters were doing illegal things, and the way to contravene that illegal thing is they IV'd in the dressing room without anybody knowing and accidentally left a syringe. I think that gets me out of trouble. Okay. So guys listen, guys, when they want to be applicable and apply themselves to do things, they'll do it. Right? That's my whole point.
For sure. No, I'm not saying like it wouldn't exist, but like, you know what? I don't know the answer, so I'm not even gonna make that argument. But yeah, I don't know. I get why it exists. I do think there's a fair argument about overreach of power, but I guess it's for everybody's. Is it for everybody's good? I don't know. I'm not an expert on.
I hear the point. I really do, because it's weird. Like, could you imagine? Like, there's stories of guys like literally,
on like the birth of their child or their wedding day, like they're with their parents, something like that. I can think of a million reasons why I wouldn't answer like a text, even if it's like from my boss. I can think of a million reasons. Just as a human being.
Even silly things like there's a silly one where a guy was literally piping his like significant other, and then USADA called. You're
going to have to beat that one out, but yeah, I get it. The piping his significant other. Jeez.
Wait, I can't say that. Hold on a second.
All right.
I'll bleep that out. Hey,
no, don't bleep it out. I'm playing.
But yeah, it's weird. But you know what? These are the things we have to do to make sure guys are clean, unfortunately. And you know what? Like, whether it's right or wrong about the whole thing about USADA and PEDs, whether it's right or wrong, that's another story for another time. But the fact of the matter is, it's determined it's wrong. They know guys can what's the word?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go around the rules. And this is kind of the best way to do it. And if you don't comply, I think it's more of a compliance thing. I don't think Yair Rodriguez was doing anything dirty. I just think it was a compliance thing.
And the thing that kind of like lessens my sympathy is like this was like a sanction for 3 failed whereabouts tests in 1 year. So, I mean, 1 time I feel you, 2 times I don't know, 3 times like okay, man, like
it's a compliance issue. Comply, right? You go. Everyone's got HR people, and if you don't comply with the HR person, they'll send you to the office and give you kind of a written form.
You know the vibes. Okay, there's one more kind of MMA news I wanted to talk about. I don't know about you. There's probably something else on your list, but Clarissa Shields, pursuant to our conversation a couple of weeks ago, is not only joining the PFL, which is crazy, but it's also training with John Jones. I just saw that article.
So she was trying to get into MMA?
Yeah.
She not trying to. She is doing it. Like, she is going to do it. Like, she's already training. Not already. I bet she's been training because she's been talking about this for at least 2 years. But now she's making the step. She's signed with an organization. She's going to fight. We don't know who yet. And she's training with like elite guys. There's a picture of her with John Jones. Yeah, man.
Can we pretend that we were talking about Clarissa Shields and her promotion power 2 weeks ago because we knew she was going to get signed the entire time? Can we pretend that?
No? Yes. I mean, but now we're going to find out, right? Now we're going to find out, like,
is this a real thing? Like, is Jeremy right? Like, that's... Look, I think
Jeremy's a visionary, man. He's a visionary. He doesn't get
I probably want her to succeed so that way she'll have to be recognized by the biggest mixed martial art company in the world. So
with hands like that, how is she not going to succeed? Don't get me wrong. There's probably other elements that she's definitely going to have to work on. But like, man, her hands just alone, they're the best She's the best.
I think the comparable is Heather Hardy, right? Heather Hardy. Remember when Heather Hardy came out and like legend, known for her quick hands, couldn't knock out a fly, but known for her quick hands. And she comes to Bellator and gets lit up by an 0-0 Christina Williams, right? Because she didn't round out the other parts of her game. So the whole thing is if Clarissa doesn't really train the right way, which by all accounts looks like she is. I saw her kick the bags. Sorry, kick the pads, and I was like, wow, she's taking it seriously.
But take it easy. I mean, how many times have we heard that story? It's like, whoa, I saw her hit the bags, and wow.
No. Like, there's footage of her switch kicking, actually using Thai principles, throwing elbows. I was like, wow, okay, she's taking this seriously. I'm not saying she's gonna be good. I'm not saying she's gonna all of a sudden turn into Sanchai, but she looked like she's trying, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check. Well, I gotta look up Heather Hardy's record, so sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I believe Heather
I
Hardy.
think the one thing that her boxing level skill will help her in the octagon is the fact that her footwork is very quick. Like that, if she can, because remember how we were talking about Mike Tyson's peekaboo style? I think another style that helps in the octagon is getting in and out. Like if you can use your hands, get in and out, and then get outside of range, get in outside of range, get outside of range. That's one thing that Clarissa Shields does very well. So if
Yeah.
she can piece a lot of girls up, which and get, because like I think one thing that being a high level frustrated.
Jeremy cut out a little bit.
Yeah, you cut out a
I
little
did.
bit.
Did you hear that last part?
Nah,
I said one thing that her skill level can do for her if she can utilize that footwork and getting inside of range, piecing girls up really quickly and getting outside of range is it'll get girls frustrated because they're gonna want to try and grab her, and if she can piece them up and then like kind of that whole get off me and get outside range and use her footwork. And obviously she'll have to round out the other parts of her game, but if she can utilize that, I think she can get a lot of girls frustrated.
Well, the main thing is movement. If she look, Israel Adesanya, Wonder Boy, Robert Whitaker, et cetera. Darren Till's another example.
I think a key thing there, though. Oh my God, I cut you off during your argument. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say. Look, I always say it. I say it for like practically every show. Movement is the first line of takedown defense. Forget like work. Forget bringing the wrestling shoes and the singlet and the headgear. If your feet are moving, it's harder to take you down when your feet aren't. And that's why a lot of these early UFC Thai guys were struggling because they weren't using the footwork, the way they should when they're in the octagon. And now you're seeing a new age of strikers start to beat the grapplers. Why? Because they're using their feet. Mm-hmm. So if Clarissa can just adapt her boxing footwork, because it's not easy, right? You're not just going to go in there. But if she can adapt her footwork like the way Holly Holm did,
the thing is that I'm so uncomfortable making comparisons with Holly Holmes is special. You know what I mean? Like, There's not many people who can transcend genres because she's like a champion, like boxing, kickboxing, and MMA, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
correct.
She run the gamut. She's been doing this. But then
don't
again,
forget Jeremy Asiffo on that list.
Hilarious. But then again, you compare what's it called? Because I was just looking it up. Heather Hardy, first of all, started boxing when she was 26, which is kind of crazy, or 28 or something like that, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, she started boxing 10 years ago, and within like 6 years became a champ or something like that. But she doesn't have the kind of pedigree in terms of boxing that Clarissa Shields has. Like, Clarissa Shields is a 2-time Olympian. That being said, I 100% agree with what you guys are saying, actually, with what you're saying, Michael, in terms of she has a sort of her footwork. Even though I do agree with Jeremy that in and out is really good for MMA, and also I think that, if you can move your feet, you're less likely to get taken down. But MMA is a different beast because it's not just like people are going to start, trying to shoot from 2 feet away and shoot doubles. They're gonna hold you to the cage and you're gonna get in the clinch, and then they're gonna transition to like a single leg, and you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna switch it up.
Sorry to interrupt, but I just think back to when Shevchenko took on Maya. Like, if Clarissa Shields can survive a first couple of rounds of grappling against, I mean, she probably wouldn't be able to do it against Maya in like her first competition, but against like maybe a pretty good grappler, if she can survive those first 2 rounds and utilize her conditioning, then once somebody's more tired in the championship rounds, then she can start to piece up, just like how Shevchenko did Maya. When you saw Shevchenko utilize that footwork, she gave her, I think it was like a jab cross, and then maybe a jab cross, and then she got to the outside of Maya. I think if she can do something like that and she's a more skilled boxer and in my opinion, has better footwork than Shevchenko. I think that she can be well. But I have to admit, I have a little bit of a stake in this because I want to see if the UFC will in fact, promote a
black female the way they should promote.
There's no way they're not going to promote her because she's too big of a name. Personally, like the hype has started now. My thing is, first of all, remember a couple of years ago, and we are spending a lot of time on this, but remember a couple of years ago when Amanda Nunes, when there was that talk about Amanda Nunes and Clarissa Shields, I think like literally last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was when she was fighting, I can't remember, the Canadian
I think it was
lady.
GDR. Was it GDR?
I can't remember who it was, but they basically asked her, "Oh, would you fight Clarissa Shields?" And she was like, in a boxing match, she's like, "No, why would I do that? Tell her to come over here. Like this is my jungle. Like over here, like I'm the lioness." And I think Clarissa Shields is gonna find out.
Use the words, "It would be a grave mistake."
No, for sure. I think we're gonna find out. It would be a grave mistake to take on Amanda Nunes in your first like 5 fights.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I want to see from Clarissa Shields in a fight. Is she checking leg kicks or is she retracting the leg? Is she, you know what I'm saying? No, seriously. Is she using movement? And when she does get taken down, what's her mechanics like? What's her sprawl mechanics like? Does she just hold the head and just like kind of hope? Or is she like sprawling? Is she like turning it over? Is it, I want to see proper MMA mechanics. And if that's the case, I'm like, sky's the limit. Because I forget right now, you know what? Forget Amanda Nunes. I just want to see what would happen if her versus Kayla Harrison were to fight. Right? But she's got to prove it to me against someone lower level where she can utilize those mechanics. And then it's her versus Kayla Harrison. Let's make it happen. Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's exciting. At least we're talking about, women's fighting, which is different. Now I remember what I was going to say, just really quickly. So I read this article about women boxers during COVID-19 on The Score. It wasn't even the Score app. It was just like a link to some like boxing website. And it was talking about, it had this quote from Heather Hardy, which was actually particularly sad. It was like, I fight on the undercards of these big cards, and I see the male fighters that fight with me start off sitting next to me on the undercard, then move to like the main card, then go to co-main, then main event, then they're champs, but I still stay in the same seat. And it was just basically talking about how women fighters, especially during COVID-19, unless you're Clarissa Shields or what that other Irish
Katie
Taylor, yeah, like you're not getting that many fights during COVID-19. You're not getting paid.
But most of these women,
sorry, I was going to say most of these women also have full-time jobs as well while being like world-class fighters. What's that girl that fought Katie Taylor? Delphine Pursunes is an actual policewoman. So I guess that makes sense why GDR is a policewoman. But all these women are literally sacrificing their bodies for something that they love. So I go to the comments thinking that I'm going to get some sympathy.
No, hell no. Are you
kidding? God.
Hell no.
Oh, my God. Man, just hold your head and shake. That's
right. No, but see, this is why I try to explain about the WNBA thing. Of course, you put the WNBA players and the NBA players. And, of course, the NBA players are miles better, right? And, of course, it's a market thing. They bring in the money, so they get the money. But the argument is, if you were to market women in WNBA and not give them a matinee game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, instead give them like some sort of good time and market them like the way the UFC markets the women's divisions, could they bring in more money and therefore get paid better themselves? That is the argument. And no one wants to hear that argument because it's uncomfortable.
I still think, oh my goodness, and this is a much more complex argument, but I still think there's a couple of things. First, that the UFC should actually, I wouldn't say it's a leader, and I wouldn't say it's, a feminist organization.
Give them leader. Come on.
I mean, in terms of the way they market their female athletes, I think they do a better job than most. However, I don't think they do well enough. Now, is that because of the
She is. The short answer is she is, but
yeah. But anyway, no,
yeah, it's also who they're fighting, which still isn't a good excuse. But I think
Figueiredo fighting.
I know, that's why I said it's still not a good excuse. But at the same time, like you can kind of big somebody. You can kind of big up. What's the guy's name? I have short-term memory loss. Who's the guy that David Figueiredo just fought?
Was it Brandon Moreno?
No. He just fought.
Perez.
Yeah, Perez. You can big up Perez more better than you can big up Jennifer Maia.
Right. But see, the other thing is too is like I'm sorry, I'm not seeing a Felicia Spencer fight in a main event. I'm sorry. I love her. You know, I want her to do well, fellow Canadian. I'm sorry, at this current moment, she is not a main event fighter.
We can
honestly though, I think that
talk about this card, but I don't see how that's like fundamentally any different from like the main event we just had. Like no disrespect, like those are definitely elite, but so is Felicia, like Spencer. These are elite fighters.
I think them could main event.
I think it's a false look.
If you had Weili Zhang versus Joanna on the same card as Davidson Figueiredo and Perez, I think that could have been the main.
You know the irony that we're still talking about Weili Zhang versus Joanna? That wasn't even a main event.
No,
it was a co-main.
Well, yeah, but that's
it was a co-main Izzy versus Joel Romero, which everyone was jizzed. I almost use a bad word.
But like, which one's the more memorable one?
Of course, it's Weili versus Joanna, but no one could. Everyone thought Joel versus Izzy was going to be the fight of the year. Yeah. I remember, and then that was why people were like, oh my God, we still got one fight left, because when Weili and Joanna did what they did. And Joanna has another head growing on her forehead and is still fighting. And Weili's being carried off by her trainer in round 3, only to come back and start Joanna in round 4. Everyone's like, oh my good holy God, we're going to get like another great fight. They thought it was going to be, remember when Izzy and Calvin Gastelum fought and then Poirier and Holloway turned the house down? Yeah. Right? They thought it was going to be that part too. And then we end up getting what we got, right?
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. The UFC usually gets it right, but I just think it's weird that not weird. I get it. I understand why the women are the co-main, but like, don't call yourself, don't make it seem like you're doing more than you actually are, because you are accepting that people aren't going to pay. But you have UFC fight nights, so nowadays it doesn't even matter who's trying to watch the fights.
But I also think it was partly because of pandemic booking, and you have more men than women on the roster, and therefore you can call on the men more. But I'm just
Shevchenko should have been a main event. Like
probably. Yeah. I will say this though. They market the women at least way better than the WNBA, women's soccer leagues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I gotta say though,
much better, and they market the skills much better. And what I'm trying to say is these organizations suck at marketing their women, and that's why the women aren't making money.
It's not just the only reason. There's many other reasons.
But I think that's a big one, though.
It is a big one. And I would say this, that actually shouts out to, I think it's called the National Women's Soccer League in the UK. They are actually doing a really good job of marketing. Like, I might even watch a game. Like, not in like a disrespectful way, but like they've marketed so much to me that I think I'm actually going to watch a game. So that's another good example of marketing. But that's not what people listen to this podcast for.
Sorry,
but I just wanted to make that, because that boxing
article. I really enjoy women's World Cup soccer, though. Like Japan versus USA.
And in the Olympics, like, I'm not like, oh, this is a women's sport, so it's inferior. Oh, it's women,
I was about to say, like, when we look at like Olympic sports like track and field, and we look at tennis, I watch women's sports just as much as I watch.
Yeah, like it's a marketing. It but it is a marketing thing.
Hey, real quick.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Real quick though, did you guys like see Mayweather announced that he's fighting Jake Paul on February 20th, a day
Yeah.
after my birthday?
Oh,
He's not gonna do that. But what's interesting is,
I don't think so. Oh, okay.
no, I don't. You think he's gonna do that?
I don't know.
Listen, Mayweather. Listen to me, guys. Listen to me. Mayweather is a whore for money. He'll do it.
Maybe. No, I mean he will do it. Will it happen? Is another question. I don't know. The numbers don't add up there. But speaking of numbers, I guess the Tyson and Jones fight, 1.5 million is the biggest estimate that I got for a pay-per-view fight or pay-per-view buys. Dana White, hold your head and shake it. I mean, can we just quickly look up how many UFC fights are over a million pay-per-view?
I think it was 9. I think the number is 9.
And most of them are Conor McGregor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 of them are Conor McGregor.
Imagine pumping so much money into building stars, and you have and Tyson just does it like that. I think that goes to say maybe it's a payment thing. I don't know. A lot of people are saying it's because they paid the money. It's because they paid the mans. That's why it did so well, and everybody kind of supported it because it was more grassroots and more communal. But I don't know.
Well, I think they did. I think it came down to marketing. Look, I now thinking about it, I don't think Tyson hitting the pads and that highlight video was by accident. I think they were like,
it was never by accident.
and then Roy Jones on the pads too looked real fast, and then he's talking trash and he looks like the underdog, and then Joe Rogan brings in Roy and Tyson to do marketing, which is weird because he's a UFC guy, and all of a sudden, guys are excited and people want to see what's going to be. Even if you thought this was a disaster, you want to see how much of a disaster it was going to be. It was like, they got a lot of nostalgia buys. They got a lot of car wreck buys. Mm-hmm. And they got a lot of people who were genuinely excited buys. And that combined into 1.5, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the numbers. The UFC, Khabib versus Connor's apparently was 1.8, which is pretty darn big. But looking at the UFC's biggest fights this year, ironically, Conor McGregor isn't even number one. Allegedly, it's, or reportedly, I should say, Kamaru Usman, George Masvidal, 1.3, which is crazy. And then Conor McGregor versus Donald Cerrone, 1 million. And everything else has been under a million, including Izzy versus Costa, which might have been one of the biggest hype fights of the year.
Wasn't that 700 or 800,000?
Yeah, 700. Tony Ferguson versus Gaethje, 700. Khabib versus Justin, less than 700. So, yeah, I don't know. It says something that the Tyson guys with little to no, from what I understand, I don't know.
But you know what? It's also got a lot of YouTube buys too, right? I think that the Jake Paul influence is a real thing, unfortunately.
True.
If you're a boxing fan, you're kind of shaking your head. But these guys, KSI versus Jake Paul did really well, and it's something that works.
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, yeah.
Logan Paul.
Yeah, it didn't do a milli though. It didn't do a milli. A million is you can't do anything but respect that. The million is what the UFC aims for every time it does a PPV. So the fact that Tyson was able to do it just like that, I literally say this to take back everything that I said. If this guy can get 1.5 million people to watch his fight, even if it's an exhibition, even if it's putting his life on the line or whatever nonsense that people want to throw out as a criticism, why can he not do it? Why is
you know what they want to do next? You want to know what I heard they want to do next, which I think is going to get too easy? They want to get Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson. That's going to make so much money.
Do you know what's also making me mad? I think I saw a quote by George Foreman saying that if Mike Tyson wins 2 or 3 more exhibition matches, he should fight for the title. Cut it out. Cut it out, man. Cut it out. I get why George Foreman would be the person to say that, but also no. Did you watch Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury? Don't do that, man. Anyway.
Yeah, honestly.
Come on. Okay, let's talk about the UFC card because we still got boxing news to get into.
Yeah.
Jesus, we're already an hour in. Okay.
I told you we were not gonna do 30 minutes.
Man, I really thought we would.
Okay, we can go quickly though, because there's not really much to talk about in my opinion, about the UFC card.
No, you know what? I liked it. It was a good card, and I really want to talk about Jamal Hill. But let's first talk about Hermanssson versus Vettori, because I was telling Jeremy in the car when he was talking about when we were talking about the card is like why such a big jump for Vettori, and I said, well, Vettori is a really really good fighter, and it's more so that he can't get a good fight than it is that he deserves to be a number 12. With that being said, I fully expected Hermanssson to come in here and really show levels to this, and we didn't get that. Vettori came in there and shut him down, basically.
I thought he fought the smarter fight for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess a few thoughts on this is that, number one, I don't know if I thought Vettori was one of the more talented fighters in the division. I definitely respect his grit, his grind, his hard work, and tenacity, and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of like talent, I thought like maybe against like more elite opposition, like I seemed Hermanssson to be, that he would be a little bit outmatched. But credit to him. I will say this, man. Comparing his performance against Izzy, and even some of the fights like after that to like his performance like last night, like he's made a huge improvement. Like
yeah.
Like he's not half as even his last fight, like he was like before this. I need to go back and check it. But the fight, which I think
he had a pull counter. He had like a pull left hand right hook counter on Hermanssson a couple times in this fight where I was like, wow. You know what I'm saying? He looks sharp. He looks sharp.
Not just sharp though, but sharp. But also he wasn't like lazy, if that makes sense. He wasn't wild or anything. Like he was very disciplined in his fighting, which is something that I, in my opinion, have not seen a lot from him.
Well, the thing about him though is that he always did really well when he can get a guy to miss, right? That was his thing, right? If he could get you to miss, he could put combinations together off of your miss, right? Which is what means to me that, like, honestly, if Darren Till could have fought Jack Hermanssson, Darren Till would have lit Hermanssson up.
Would have lit him up, man, lit him up. And just quickly, Marvin Vettori is actually coming off is actually on a 4-win streak, which is actually surprising to me. He has a win over Carl Roberson, which I thought he lost, but he actually won, which is a decent.
Is that the one where Carl Jabba the Hutt Robertson came in 80 pounds overweight, probably ate some pizzas on the way there?
I'm not gonna do that. I'll let you say that.
Right? Yeah, no, I'll say it. I was gonna say the N-word, but this man came in here and he was fat. He was fat.
Anyway, I'm not gonna do that. I can't remember the fight.
No, as I go on, let me say this. He did it twice too. The first time he missed his weight, and they had to take his ass to the hospital because he was too busy eating hamburger grease. And then the second time, he does it again. And you know what? I'm glad he lost. And while we're at it, he should have been cut too. Oh.
I'm not gonna go that far, but what I will say is though, I did expect more from Hermanssson. Man, his win over Gastelum was like clockwork, was like textbook, like MMA strategy. Why are you trying to outbox Marvin Vettori? Like,
because Marvin Vettori's takedown defense is stuff of life.
It was great.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not gonna pretend like Hermansson's, with all due respect, his takedowns were that good either. Like, they were kind of,
Yeah, but see, this is the thing, is that, like, I was saying, oh man, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, go on. No, that's my point. Like, sure. I don't think his takedowns were that great. I thought Vettori did a good job defending them, and reversing them. I thought the advantage that Hermanssson allegedly had on the ground was non-existent throughout the fight, because as soon as the fight hit the floor, Vettori was either more active or was trying to smash his head in.
Vettori also did a good job utilizing his strength to isolate Hermansson's hands, because Hermansson was trying to find like his one submission, but Vettori did a good job of staying on top. And then even when he got him on his back, Vettori did that good, which wasn't really strength related, but yeah, it was also credit to his defense for flipping it back over. Yeah,
man, he looked way better that was the best Vettori I've ever seen. Like, that was the first time I'm convinced he could challenge for a title. But just on the feet, man, Vettori, was just hitting harder. At the end of the day, was just hitting harder and more accurately. And even though I think Hermanssson had like the reach advantage, it didn't seem like that because he was getting countered left, right, and center. His
Gave up the
setups.
inside foot a lot too. Gave up the outside foot a lot.
What do you think about his like stand-up game? Like it's not.
It's awkward. See, this is the problem. Okay, so I have two weird takes that I actually kind of talked in this MMA group about, and I kind of got mixed results on it. Is that one? I find Jack Hermanssson to be one of the most inconsistent fighters on this UFC roster.
Agree.
Like
I don't think he does well against guys with more strength. Also,
Sorry?
if you think, I don't think he does well against guys with more strength than him as well.
Yeah, who's explosive. Like he fought the fight of his life against Jacare, and then lays an egg against Jared Cannonier. He beats Calvin Gastelum inside of a round, and then gets, I wouldn't say dominated, but clearly decisively loses to Marvin Vettori.
He got dominated.
Yeah,
he got knocked down in the first round. Like he got dominated. Like,
yeah, it was literally. Look, I think he won one round, and I think and Marvin Vettori came in on 7 days notice, right? And we should also say this too. Look, the thing about Jack Hermanssson is that he's awkward, right? He's awkward. They call him Jack the Joker for a reason. He's got kind of that like loosey-goosey style that you think if the Joker were to fight, that's what he's got. That's what he would look like. But what ends up happening is if you time him, he doesn't really have much left, and he does a lot of striking mistakes, especially when he's facing a southpaw, which you saw against Calvin Gastelum in the early going, is that he'll give up the outside foot. His leg kicks, he'll have his head straight up in the air when he throws a leg kick. He tends to drop his hands when he's coming inside with his loosey-goosey motion. Sometimes in the later rounds, he'll abandon that and just go for brawls, which tends to get him into a lot of damage. So, yeah, he's a little awkward. And yeah, I think those two things just kind of lent themselves to advantage Vettori. The other thing, though, I have to say, though, is this is the other take, is that in a weird way, Marvin Vettori winning actually gives more of a case for Israel Adesanya moving up to light heavyweight. Because Israel Adesanya beat Marvin Vettori, right? And Jack Hermanssson was kind of the only guy in the top 5 that Izzy didn't beat, but now Vettori beat him and beat him pretty soundly. Izzy can say, okay, well, I beat Bobby Knuckles, and Bobby Knuckles beat Till. I beat Yoel Romero, and he's no longer in the UFC. I beat the brakes off of Paulo Costa, and Jack Hermanssson, the only guy who was in the top 4, lost to a guy I beat in my second fight in the UFC. So all of these things compounded says Izzy can just say, okay, well, what else is there for me to do realistically? And so, yeah, while we look at his moving up as with rolled eyes, maybe he's got a point.
No, he definitely has a point. I'm just looking at the rankings. You still have Derek Brunson on there. No, man. Definitely moved up.
Did we not see the dominant performance Izzy put on Derek Brunson?
We definitely did. Have we not seen the dominant performance Derek Brunson's been putting on everybody else? Crazy, man. Like crazy.
Yeah, which again means that Izzy can just say, what else is there for me to do? Like,
no, for sure. I agree with that. That's actually a good argument. I don't know. I agree. I mean, I always like when champions fight or clean out the division personally, but some people could argue that the division's kind of cleaned itself out because a lot of the top guys that were there before, like Jacare, Romero, really, they're gone. Even like Weidman, gone. Who else? There's a lot of top guys that are like no longer fighting in the division. I know a lot of people keep talking about this Whitaker versus Adesanya 2 fight. I don't know if I'm itching to see that right now. I kind of want to see Whitaker get a couple more wins under his belt. Not because I don't think he's a good fighter, just because I like him and want to see him win a little bit more. And maybe that will help his confidence going into the fight. But other than that, there's nothing really in the division that sticks out to me personally. And I just want to say, just on air, I disagree that this was a good fight. This was an awful fight. And the UFC should be ashamed of itself for putting this on as a main event. Because, once again, just why... And we're not even talking about the elephant in the room that 3 fights were canceled the night of the fight, of the card. Like, are you kidding me? You're not even giving people notice anymore.
It's like, oh, by the way,
5 o'clock. I'm like, I gotta rush home to the prelims are starting, only to find out that the prelims start 2 hours later because three fights are canceled. Man, come on, just
like,
cancel
oh, by
the
the
fight.
way, yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty bad. But like, okay, the fight was a good fight though. It was a good fight because it was impressive, and Jack Hermanssson didn't like roll over and die. He tried his best, right?
Not rolling with that. Jack Hermanssson was the favorite. He should have, with all due respect, should have gone in there and dominated. But
you
he
know
didn't.
what? Keep in mind, Israel Adesanya was technically the lower ranked guy in a lot of his fights before getting to the title. Calvin Gastelum versus Izzy. People forget Izzy was the underdog on the betting lines.
I mean, because he had fought like 5 guys. Like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see with Vettori. I'm not sure he's going to win the championship, but we will see. Sorry, Jeremy, what were you gonna say? Or you're just not going to say anything? Okay.
No, I didn't have anything to say.
Oh, okay.
I think I enjoyed the fight. If I did have a take, I would say that I disagree with you, David. I actually enjoyed this fight because of the fact that the underdog won, and because of the fact that Jack Hermanssson didn't roll over and die. I enjoyed seeing the high level of skill on the ground. Not so much the stand up. The stand up, it was kind of clear who outclassed who, but the high level of skill that took place in the grappling and the jiu-jitsu, I enjoyed. I'm starting to kind of like jiu-jitsu more and more as I
give it time, man. Give it time. Not all of it is interesting.
Yeah, I know. Like you kind of got to train it to kind of appreciate it and stuff before you can actually, because when you're just watching it and you don't really know what guys are doing, it is quite boring, but you can appreciate it. Yeah.
Related, because I don't think, actually, you wanted to talk about Jamal Hill, and then I'll do a related 1FC breakdown just really quickly.
If you want to talk about that 1FC card,
because Gary Tonin was fighting not on the main card, not on the main event, which was weird.
Didn't he win?
He did win.
Yeah, I'm so excited for Gary Tonin.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were really excited. They hyped up his striking really for this fight, because everybody knows his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu credentials. Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I like. Like, I've been watching a lot of his tapes, and there's a couple of escapes I like. He's known for not even like his submission great game. He's known for the ability to escape out of anything. Like, he's Houdini basically. And so I've been watching a lot of his submission escapes into counters and like some of the high level stuff. So yeah,
there was none of that. It was pretty one note. This fight, he was dominating. I'm sorry, Matsushima, I think, some Japanese guy. And,
car salesman.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I got you. Car salesman.
No, the other guy seemed somewhat legit. But yeah, no, he dominated him. But shouts out to the other guy. Like, there was a couple times like where Tonin had that rear naked choke like sunk in. I think there was one time where it might have been like a minute left, and he's like on his back, like literally switching grips, like deciding which arm to choke him with, and I'm like, okay, this is done. But he survived like 3 rounds, and I don't know whether there's a criticism on Gary Tonin or credit to the other guy, but I do know that Tonin was coming off 100% finishing rate before this fight. So,
hey man, guys have heart. Like this, it's not easy. Even like I hate to kind of put myself into this, but I went from one fight to C class where I like knocked the guy silly to now fighting in where I'm supposed to be, I guess. And guys are just hard to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Like guys when guys want it, like they want it.
I get it.
Fukushima, the part-time car salesman, I guess.
He did a good job. Also in that fight, that card was a fake Anderson Silva. Just that was weird. Anderson Braddock Silva was fighting some other guy that I can't remember his name right now, but that was a weird fight. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's our 1FC breakdown.
Oh yeah, man, you're our 1FC correspondent.
Yeah, no, I mean they're doing their thing, but they really have to get some of the bigger names back on. Like, where are the Muay Thai fighters, man?
Man,
Is there a
Stefano
lockdown in Thailand going on? Like,
Stefano
man,
really got you pessimistic about them, didn't he?
he did, but like the result, like what they're actually showing, they started the summer pretty hot, and now like the quality is tapered off quite a bit. No disrespect to anyone's fighting.
Well, I think it's like they're at their best when they do Muay Thai cards, right?
For sure.
That's when
Hot card summer.
Even the Anderson Silva fight was the fake Anderson Silva was or let me not call him fake, but Anderson Braddock Silva, which is a hilarious nickname for a Brazilian guy, by the way, Braddock. Even that was a kickboxing fight, and that was pretty interesting. I like that one. Really like that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Jamal Hill, because I really want to talk about this because Jamal Hill is what happens when you train an athlete the right way to transition to MMA. A lot of people forget basketball star, basketball standout, and then
wait. What do we mean by standout? Not to question the man's credentials. Just like, what do we mean by standout?
He was going to play college ball. He was going to play college ball, and I believe what happened. I could be wrong. I want to actually do my research on this, but I actually believe what happened is that fatherhood took over.
So the John Jones.
Yeah, I believe that's what happened. So he had to become a father, of course, and he actually dedicated his life to MMA and said no more factory jobs and trained his body. And so what I'm trying to explain is, look, you can't give an MMA fighter 6 months of training and expect them to go to UFC knocking people out. But if you get a person who's clearly a better athlete than his peers and train him in MMA, right, and through the grassroots or whatever, and build them up,
Yo, I love his name.
That potential.
Dreams. I just gotta say that I love that name. Sweet Dream. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Man, but yeah, no, like that's
Wasn't
my
it
whole
like
thing.
Tarantula, or did I imagine that?
Who?
Jamal Hills? I thought his nickname was the Tarantula.
Nah, his nickname is Sweet Dreams Hill. Although maybe it was the Tarantula at one point. But yeah, like look, the whole thing I'm trying to explain is there is a lot of deficiencies in Jamal Hill's technical aspect of fighting. He uses his back instead of his hips to overcommit. Drops his hands. A little wild and loopy. Awkward.
That's what's gonna be my thing. I'm surprised that you like him because his technique is still a little loopy.
His technique, but this is the thing, because he's such an overwhelmingly better athlete than a lot of guys, even though he's really inexperienced and has a lot of technical flaws, I guess by the textbook, he's so fast, so much stronger, and the one thing a lot of these athletes that come from other sports have, stage presence. They know how to act in the big moment, right? That he can do these things despite having the deficiency and despite being 6-0 or 7-0 and not go a legend in OSP. TKO, right? And so what I'm trying to explain is this is training an athlete or a basketball athlete or a football athlete to do well in MMA done right? That's my whole point. Because a lot of people take a look at Nate Robinson and say, basketball athletes or whatever, they can't do it in MMA. It's like, well, not exactly, right? It's not that simple, right? And I think Jamal Hill, to an extent, Greg Hardy, Brock Lesnar, there are examples where when done right and when guys take it seriously and commit themselves, well, I don't want to say that about Nate Robinson didn't take it seriously, but when guys do it right and take their time and progress and X, Y, and Z, you can get guys who are overwhelmingly better athletes starting lifelong martial artists, right?
Especially if they're better athletes. Fair enough. We'll see what he does. I just found out that his nickname has never been the Tarantula. It's Daquan Townsend is the Tarantula, and I think which is why I confuse it. Or wait, no, it's Jalen Turner. Man, there's so many fighters, dog. There's so many fighters.
Another multi-sport athlete too, right? So, again, this is if you can train multi-sport athletes to be lifelong martial artists, you're gonna see a lot of untapped potential in MMA all of a sudden start to skin out, and you're gonna start seeing athletes start winning, right?
Yeah, like Dominic Reyes.
Football athlete, right? So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's my rant.
Brendan Schaub. Okay.
No, but
All right.
again, yeah, like,
I don't
yeah,
know if Deontay Wilder was an athlete before he started boxing, but I
basketball
remember
athlete.
I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast he started boxing a year and a half before he won a bronze medal in the Olympics.
I believe it. I believe
Yeah.
it.
No, Deontay Wilder, basketball athlete,
Is he
actually.
a basketball athlete? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what happened was he decided to take up boxing after his daughter had spinal bifida. So,
Yeah.
again, this is when you do it right with these athletes. You can get some guys who, despite technical deficiencies, like I just mentioned, for all of those guys, really give a lot of trouble to lifelong martial artists who have better technical acumen. Right? So, yeah. I don't know. That's my rant. I don't know. No one cared, maybe. Oh,
It's
David.
early. We'll see what he does against other people. Although OSP is a pretty respectable fight to get under your belt. So shouts out to him. But I think, yeah, we'll see what he does. But yeah, I agree. Do we want to talk about the boxing before we get out of here?
Yeah, boxing correspondent Jeremy Asiffo.
Can I just say also, like, this boxing card was way better than the UFC card. Way better.
I would
We're
agree.
an MMA podcast.
I would agree. You know, we got all TKOs on this card except for the main fight, of course. And in the main fight, you had the return of Errol Spence after a vicious car crash. And he proved all the doubters wrong. You know, he was the same Errol Spence. And he beat a extremely formidable opponent in Danny Garcia. And this was a very close, very competitive, very highly skilled chess match between two very highly skilled boxers. And I enjoyed myself. So if you just want to know real quick, I gave every round to
Spence.
Errol Spence, except for I think it was either the fourth or fifth round there. I gave one round to Danny Garcia. Um, and just
That's a hell of a card then.
Yeah, I was gonna say you said it was close, but I feel like it was a pretty clear Spence victory.
it was clear, but it was close in the sense that each round was razor
Competitive.
thin, and Errol Spence won it based on the fact that he just put in more work than Danny Garcia. So that's why I gave every round to Spence. But it's because Errol Spence utilized that jab. And, Errol Spence, I think, you know, he Danny Garcia lost confidence in that left hook because that left hook was there. But I think when he missed the first couple in the early goings of the fight, he kind of lost confidence in it and just kind of stuck to that right cross. He kind of took his head off the center line and stuck to that right cross and also if you're an orthodox fighter and you want to find out how to or you want to learn a great way to fight a southpaw, go and take a look at this fight because you'll see he took his head off the center line and threw that cross and landed it a lot of times. It's just that he lost. It's just that he lost confidence in that left hook, and that's a signature punch. That's a signature punch for Garcia. He lost. What was up? What's up?
I didn't watch this fight, but look, as a fellow southpaw, I always say this. Open side straight, rear side straight, lead side hook typically is the way to go about it when you're facing a guy with the opposite stance.
Yeah.
Right? So whether it's right cross, left hook, or left cross, right hook, that's the way you got to do it. And so I'm very surprised that Danny Garcia actually lost confidence in a weapon that does give southpaws or orthodox in the opposite stance a lot of trouble.
He was getting beat up, man. I hear what you're saying, Jeremy, and I do think, like, it was a competitive fight, and Garcia definitely put a good account of himself, but I thought, like, it was pretty clear who the better fighter was during the fight. And I think that, maybe the reason he didn't throw that's actually a good point. I I remember him throwing like maybe one or two in the first couple rounds, but afterwards it was pretty much straight right, and then try to do some work off that.
I was actually talking to Donnie on the day of the fight, and I told him, I think a 70, and I think I'm wrong. I think it was more so like an 85% Spence was enough to get the decision over Garcia, and only because Garcia struggles with a guy with a long reach. Like,
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. I think that the real difference was Spence backed him up with that jab, and then would make him pay either with like a shot to the body or something nasty up top. Like it was really good, and eventually towards the later rounds, he started backing him up into the corner, and you could literally see Garcia not want to throw because he knew, like, in a like a I don't want to call it like a brawl, but more of like a punching exchange. Like he wasn't sure he was gonna come out on top because, man, Spence's movement and defense is something else. Like
But
I don't know. I think it's better than
Spence, though, is that Spence, like, despite the fact he has such great defense,
he's so aggressive.
He gets
so
after
aggressive.
it.
But you know what? I will say this though. I don't think it was 100% Spence last night. He gave himself a B minus for the performance. I would tend to agree because I think like even like the Sean Porter fight was a way more exciting fight, and that was a better Errol Spence that night. But then again, like in the context of him not fighting for a year, coming off a serious car injury, like car crash, like I can get like why you might not look like gangbusters on your first time.
I was gonna say, like,
but that jab, he was so effective for Spence last night. I think
sure.
that was the key. That was the key to his success. Was picking Garcia apart and finding a home on Garcia's left eye with that jab. I think it was a very smart fight for Spencer and dudes. And not everyone, really, pretty much almost no one is as aggressive as Sean Porter. Sean Porter is going to throw punches and bunches, and he doesn't care if he gets hit. Sean Porter is willing to trade, and I think Sean Porter got knocked down just one time in that fight, which is I think what won Errol Spence the victory. But Danny Garcia, like even though Danny Garcia is more of a counter puncher. Danny Garcia if you look at his past fights, he's more of a counter puncher. He's not really I'm gonna take the fight to you like Spence, which is kind of what you got to do if you want a chance against Errol Spence.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, man, he didn't get the chance to throw a counter punch because Spence was on him the entire time, and it was almost like a speed bag exercise where he wouldn't stop punching. I mean, he would kind of intersperse it with movement. Like I thought his movement was like world class. Obviously, like the way he was dodging and slipping punches, like
but again, that's Errol Spence though. You're not going to beat him in a straight up like punch for punch battle because but you know what the thing is, he's willing to open up. So because of that, you can catch him in these exchanges when you are being.
I'll say this though. Aesthetically, I prefer Bud Crawford more. I think he's a more exciting fighter, but I can understand why people would think like if they matched up, like Spence would come out on top.
I personally think Spence would get it. I personally think
style, and he's bigger too, and that suits his physical style. Like I get it, but
yeah, no, I personally think Spence would have it. To be honest,
I think Terence Crawford would win because of the fact that he's stronger and he can fight out of both stances.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? But Spence is so much faster though, right? And
Spence is pretty fast.
So, but you know what? Honestly, it's one of those things where the main thing I was looking for, I didn't watch this fight and I should have, but the main thing I was really concerned for was how was Spence's like just confidence going to hold up and body going to hold up after the car accident, right? But it doesn't seem like it was that much of an issue. So
no, yeah, he definitely, Errol Spence is back. I don't know if he ever left, but he definitely proved the doubters wrong. So it was good.
I think that Terence Crawford is stronger than Errol Spence.
Yeah. More powerful puncher. Okay. I think so. Yeah, I do.
Just a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But what's next
what's
for
the
Errol Spence? I really don't know. I really don't
the
know what's
Crawford
next.
fight, man? Like, don't
Yeah, let's
like
stop.
No. I mean, no. You're right. Like, and me and Michael talked about this earlier today. Like, boxing fans are waking up to the fact that there's a lot of politics in boxing. But I'm saying, in respect to all the politics that goes on, I don't know what they want to do. But I think now, based on all these moving parts, I think they just want to know for sure. Like, because of the fact that Danny Garcia put on such a good showing for himself. Just it was, like I said, it was just because he got outworked. But also, I just want to say one thing, like too. I think Danny Garcia's father did a really good job too, Angel Garcia. Um, it just, he didn't really have too much for him, but I think he was giving him good advice. He told him to stop, trying to look for that perfect punch and everything. I just think that, Errol Spence he just couldn't find anything. And I think that's why. So I think also Angel Garcia deserves his flowers too. Um, but what I want to say was because Danny Garcia did such a good job, I think that they're gonna want to pair Danny Garcia and Bud in a fight. Um, yeah, and then there's talks of like Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter because everyone knows that since Sean Porter is like he's like the gatekeeper of the elites. Like if you want to be in that elite level, uh, you got to go through Sean Porter.
That's a dangerous matchup, though.
What?
That's a dangerous matchup, though.
I like that one.
For
I like that one for Bud. Sorry.
Yeah, I think they want to do that maybe. So those are the two. Those are the two matchups that are flown around. But for Errol Spence, I think we all know like that's the fight that I think we got to see. I think that's the fight that has to happen immediately for sure. Everybody knows it. Everybody wants it. Make it happen.
All right, let me play fantasy promoter for a second. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. If it depends on what certain guy's willing to do, right? Is it outlandish to say Pacquiao will move up and fight Danny Garcia?
No.
Okay, so why not?
Sorry, go on.
So why not Pacquiao versus Danny Garcia, Spence versus Crawford, winner of Garcia and Pacquiao faces winner of Crawford and Spence.
But once again, Spence is just beating Garcia.
Yeah.
So, like, what's in it?
Okay, fine. Then if Garcia wins and Spence wins, then don't have them face each other. Like, just leave it at that. But
I would like to see Manny Pacquiao against any of these guys, man.
Yeah. Sorry?
I said I would like to see Manny Pacquiao against any of them.
Yeah.
Don't like his chances against Spence or Crawford, but anybody else,
you can never count out Pacquiao.
You can never count out Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I mean,
so why not? That's a big payday. Could you imagine? And let's do for fun. Let's have it in Manila. For fun.
Why not? It's COVID. Why not?
Yeah, just for fun. I know the president of the Philippines, is a little crazy, but why not? Let's do it.
Rodrigo Duarte here, I think. I don't know.
Dude,
think about it.
Listen, he'd kick my ass, right? I'm.
Yeah. I mean, by Death Squad, maybe. We can't get off this call without talking about the co-main event.
I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
Bro, what is guaning with?
All right, chill out.
Man?
Don't you dare.
Going on?
Don't you dare.
What's going on? Wait, first, before I even go into it.
No, can I preface it? Can I preface it?
Okay, you preface it.
All right, can I preface it? First of all, I was telling Michael about it earlier. And come on, man. This is a 6-6.
Yeah, that was the setup, man.
Come on, man. Like, no, like I know the Ghanaians aren't really doing good right now. But I just want to say, like, this is a 6'6", 80-inch reach southpaw fighting in the welterweight division.
It was sick.
Who's gonna do well?
Bro, he looked like a training dummy out there, and it's
No,
not his fault. No, I'm not even saying it's his fault. But I've been in that position, just getting teed off on.
Bro,
and
I'm saying though, anybody could have got it, bro. Like the guy from Ghana, he was like 30 something and won. Come
Yeah,
on.
no, he was a legit fighter too. I
legit.
thought he was gonna win. I'm like, who's this kid? Why is he so tall? And then he started like landing those power, like that power uppercut. I'm like, oh, buddy, it's gonna be a long night. Like, man, he cleaned that Ghanaian dude up, man. Shouts
All
out
right,
to
hold on.
Habib,
Relax.
man. But no, I'm just gonna say, like, you guys, and the way the announcer screamed, fighting out of Accra, Ghana, like it was supposed to carry some weight or something.
Yeah, because Ghana has a rich boxing tradition. How dare you?
Yo, that kid from Coachella, he's from Coachella. He went in there and cleaned that guy up. Please watch the fight. It's 2 rounds. It's so, man, that was one of the more, I won't even say one-sided, because it wasn't even like he just like.
It was target practice.
Man, it was like, yeah, for real. He was just, I think he landed, there's a clip of him landing the first uppercut and like Habib just like dazing back to the ropes, and the other guy, like, he's like 22. He's just in his face. He's just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Like, man.
It was bad. No, it was bad. It was
bro.
Bad. It was bad.
Yeah, let's talk about the other guy. 6'6", welterweight. Are you kidding me?
Dude, yeah, it was bad.
Test the waters, man. Test the waters.
Yo, but that's like as unfortunate as it was for my countrymen, we do gotta talk about this kid.
He was great, man. That guy was great.
Because he has, I mean, not immediately, and I wouldn't recommend it. But what do you feel about a Jamal Charlo, Sebastian Fundora matchup? Like, how do you think he favors in?
He's a unicorn. The kid's clearly a unicorn, but like, no, it's kind of early, no?
Yeah, it's early. I mean, I didn't see enough from his in terms. I mean, his striking looked good, so he can definitely box. But like, I didn't see enough to say like, he's ready for the top of the division yet, personally. But man, that's gonna be a tough matchup. Like, Michael, you just imagine, like, you think you don't know anything about your opponent going into, you sign up to do like a tournament, you don't know anything about your opponent, and then like the guy that you're fighting turns out to be this 6'6" monster, and he wasn't even like huge or anything, like in terms of like strong. He was skinny, but that length.
I did that.
Yeah?
Yeah, they asked me, hey, you want to fight Gordon Cunningham? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I look him up. Oh, 6-fight middleweight, 6'5" middleweight.
Damn.
78-inch reach. It's like, all right, thanks, man.
Damn. Sick.
No, man. Honestly, though, like, I think at this present moment, I would give it to Charlo based on the speed and power and the fact that Charlo would just put water in the basement and just turn his ribs.
That's my thing, right? He must have cut a lot of weight. He must have cut a lot of weight.
No, man, he looks skinny.
The dude's definitely skinny, but he's got power on his side. I don't know how.
It's because he has that leverage, man. Like, he's like turning into the punches in like an exaggerated manner, like straight up, like it looks like he's straining, but it's so far away, like he's not gonna get caught with a counter.
Yeah,
so, but like that's why baseball players, I think, would do really well if you taught them how to train, because they, especially pitchers.
Michael, you gotta stop with some of these takes, man. Like,
hold
what?
On. Hold on. Let me explain. Because pitchers throw pitches, especially taller ones, they throw them on a downward angle, so they're used to that kind of motion of coming downward.
They do the same workouts in the gym, I've noticed.
Yeah. So they're used to kind of having that explosive power. So if you train the guy who's used to, like, especially batters too and the pitchers, they know how to use their hips, right? And so this is essentially a 6'6" pitcher going downward on a guy and throwing fastballs, right?
I like the analogy. I disagree that just because you know how to throw a fastball means that you would be good at MMA. I think there's
I decided 20 minutes talking about how, like,
you have to train athletes the right way. I get it. But, like, comment, man. Okay. Any sport, any athlete could be good at another sport if they train the right way.
No, of course. But
no.
Point is the long-winded point I'm trying to make, though, is this is essentially, because I saw the fight. It's essentially just a guy who's throwing fastballs down the plate with his body. He's coming downward on him every single time and turning his hips, right?
Man, literally, like turning, like exaggerated, like to the point where he's almost like sideways landing the hook. Man, Shouts out to that Ghanaian guy who I guess is tough, but bro, he didn't even fall. To his credit, the Ghanaian guy did not fall.
Mad at the ref for stopping it because he was
What?
like, he was no. The ref should have stopped it.
Yeah, like 30 seconds earlier.
Yeah, the ref should have stopped it. Like it became target practice. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like credit to his toughness because he had his guard open. And then when the ref stopped it, he's like, yo. And then like he kind of even didn't want to shake hands with Fundora because he was like, man, you didn't beat me. Like I was still in it, but you weren't.
That dude to a gosh darn hospital, man. He got lit up.
He did. Got lit up, but hey, he's still like Habib Ahmad is still. Well, I don't know.
Is he? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But
he's the best Canadian boxer out there right now.
One, you're obviously you obviously know how to box.
No, man, give me the best Ghanaian boxer out right now. Because after Amin Al Hassan and like this guy now, like I'm not buying it.
I mean,
all right. I promise you that guy Effie, I got Jababe. I promise. I forget his name, but hey, I want just because of all this crap you're talking, I want Tyson Fury to go and light his ass up.
Hilarious. Man, no, I'm just saying we have Adesanya, we have Usman, we have Hakeem.
We're talking about boxing right now.
Oh, hilarious. Anthony Joshua was half Nigerian.
There's a lot of Nigerian diaspora guys. Those aren't like Nigerian.
Samuel Peters, don't do that. Samuel Peters, Anthony Joshua is half Nigerian, so. Come on.
Yeah,
you have like 200 million people in your country, so.
Fair enough, but at least we're not. I just thought it was weird. This doesn't have to be a Ghana versus Nigerian pod, but I literally let out a really loud laugh.
Honestly, it's not looking good for my countrymen. Like in the UFC, one guy gets knocked out in 30 seconds. In boxing, another guy gets TKO'd in the second round. It's not looking good. We need just one of y'all to just step up, bro. Like we need one of y'all.
That guy looked good too, like physically.
Yeah.
You guys always look good. It's like
shut up. He's like, guys are static.
I'm becoming like a mad racist right now. So he's like, oh, he has all the physical attributes. He's so explosive, but it's just mental. His mental game's not there.
Hey, David, remind me, when was the last time you guys got out of the group stages in the World Cup?
We're doing this.
Stop. Oh, guys, do you guys ever remember the story I told you guys about meeting Errol Spence? Or was that? Maybe for another podcast.
Yeah, let's save it for another podcast. We're kind of running long with this.
But I just want to say, honestly, though, from top to bottom, it was an all-around good card. It was great boxing.
Yeah. I even caught a little bit of the Jose, I don't even know how to say his name, Josecito? Lopez?
Josecito Lopez?
Yeah, I even caught a little bit of that one.
Yeah, that was a good one, yeah.
Take notes, UFC. Take notes. Space it out.
Yeah, Josecito looked good. Josecito Lopez.
All right, guys.
All right.
We don't have Stefano here to threaten the children, so I guess I'll just go into the goodbyes. In this crazy mixed up world where everything is going really terribly, actually, we got like 2,000 cases in this country now. Just remember, you got three things: you got life, you got family, and this podcast.
Oh, that was a really crappy way of ending it.
Hey, man, what do you want me to say? I'm going to punch you in the throat? Like, if you don't
listen
to this? All right, fine.
Right. You have a hockey stick behind you. You're not going to even use it as a prop.
Listen, if you don't subscribe to our podcast, I'm going to come to your door with four hooded guys, and then we're going to kick you repeatedly in the balls until you subscribe to this podcast. Better?
I guess that would work. That's really specific, but I guess that would work.
Right? Like... We'll bury you alive. All right.
All right.
Hey. Joshua, and Kubrat next week.
Oh, nice. Also,
yeah, I mean Joshua's gonna win, but still.
Wrong pod, but John Wall traded for Westbrook. How about that?
Oh, hey. All right, guys, listen.
All right, peace out.
Later.